Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update. Sunday, May 1st, 9:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2022. There has been an uptick in volcanic seismic activity at Mount St. Helens volcano over the last 2 days, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But the big story, weather extremes are hampering Canadian as well as U.S. planting progress. Keep calm. It's planting time. I hope you're planting, and we'll get to that as well. Farmers in Canada are struggling to plant crops in fields that are either too wet or too dry in the prairie provinces. One quarter of the cropland in Alberta, or 44 million acres, is in a significant drought, including major growing areas for spring wheat, barley, and durum, according to the Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. In Manitoba, two-thirds of growing regions, another 21 million acres, suffer from excess moisture after back-to-back storms. There has been flooding in Manitoba, and more rain is forecast over the weekend. Now, we reported 5 years ago on the grand solar minimum effects of the grain crops in Canada, and we're seeing them manifest, as well as in the U.S. Now let's talk about some fire. Huge firefight to defend New Mexico villages from a blaze. And this is in, guess what? A farming community. Thousands of residents in northern New Mexico villages were evacuated on Sunday as fierce winds drove the largest active U.S. wildfire towards the drought-parched mountain valley. Winds gusting over 40 miles per hour blew embers a mile ahead of the blaze to start new fires as bulldozers carved fire breaks to protect the villages of Ledeux, Mora, and Cleveland, 40 miles northeast of Santa Fe, which is just south of here. They're among farming communities, an Old West city in the path of the Calf Canyon fire, the most destructive of a dozen southwest blazes that scientists say are more widespread and arriving earlier this year due to. Shut up, Al! Get in your hole! Yeah, it's due to drought, not due to you. Trust me. Wet spring could put farmers behind on planting crops. Do you see what we're talking about here? We go from drought to wet. We just saw it in the prairies. It's either too wet or too dry, period. That has nothing to do with you. It has to do with normal climate variability. Now, wet spring could put farmers behind planting crops in Wisconsin. After one of the most ideal spring seasons for farmers last year, heavy rain is making it a different story this year in Wisconsin. Recent numbers show meteorological spring, which started March 1st, has been about 8.88 inches of precipitation. That includes rain, sleet, snow, and hail. That's about double what's considered normal. So, obviously, difficulty planting there. Now, can you believe in California it's no different? One of the most drought-stricken states, it's heavy rains that destroyed 80% of the strawberry season's first crop. Whew. After a wet autumn and warm, sunny days in the first 3 months of the year, the 2022 strawberry crop was exceptionally promising. Look at the powdery mildew there. Oh, disgusting. Growing earlier and more rapidly than usual, it was a pleasant surprise for the owners of JSM Organics in Watsonville. And then the spring rains came. Now more than 80% of the crop has rotted. It's a total loss for revenue, period. Now, can the world feed itself? That's anyone's guess. Historic fertilizer crunch, crop losses, and failures are threatening food security. Now, a run up in prices, which has been strategically orchestrated by the powers that be, and a shortage of man made nutrients are forcing the agriculture industry to adapt. And the impact could be, well, devastating. And they're talking about soybeans here, like that's food. Renewed risk for severe storms this week across the drought stricken plains, which is good news. A storm emerging from the west will bring another threat of downpours, hail, and gusty winds, perhaps tornadoes to the plains this week, which is the last thing they need after the destructive tornadoes caused damage in Texas just the other night. Absolutely devastating. Now let's get back to some more crops. Arkansas corn. What are the yield expectations of the crops? They're not looking good. Across much of Arkansas, rainfall in March and April has delayed corn planting. Driving across the state, some areas have a fair amount of corn that was planted in a small window, but other areas have essentially not planted any corn or any crops due to wet soil. As of April 25th, the Arkansas Agriculture Statistics Service indicated that just 35% of the anticipated 750,000 corn acres had been planted. That's almost half of what was planted last year at 67%. That's not good news because, well, 12 or more inches could be coming to Arkansas over the next 10 days. And they're not going to be planting then, and they're not going to be planting weeks after that. So they may not be planting. But the good news is that there's tons of precipitation moving into the country, even some in the parched southwest here, just not the farthest southwest. Southern Cali, southwestern Arizona, still no rain through May 17th. Bad news. Now you can hear how stuffed up I am, and that's from the smoke from the fires and dust from high winds. It looks like Armageddon outside, and the winds are still blowing. Severe storms across the plains. A threat of severe weather is expected to develop over the central and southern plains into the Ozark Mountains into the afternoon and into the evening, with large hail, damaging winds, and gusts, and tornadoes will be possible. Elevated to critical fire weather conditions are expected through Wednesday and again over the upcoming weekend across the Southwest. And we'll keep you up to speed. And there is a huge system moving forward here that we want to bring your attention to. So let's quick walk it through. Here's your Monday. There's where that heavy, that severe weather threat through central Texas, moving east up through Oklahoma and into Arkansas into Tuesday. That's your lose day. Take a look at how this sets up right here. Look at that. Looks pretty brutal. This is May 5th, Thursday. Another heavy system in Oklahoma is going to be moving across through Missouri there. And then wait till you see this line form right here on this front. Watch it. Boom. May 10th. That severe front, that frontal boundary could mean tornadoes from Canada to Mexico. And that is going to be some severe weather for Louisiana, May 11th, next week. Take a look at that. Wow. So that is going to be a huge record-producing storm. Could be massive hail. Who knows? But we're keeping a close eye on that. That's almost 1 week from today, May 10th. So stay tuned for more updates on the impending storm. Let's take a look at the snowfall progression as it moves through, albeit weak, but amazing amounts of snow are going to be on the ground in Nebraska. Kiss my ass. Take a look at that. Tuesday, May 3rd, Nebraska is going to be covered in snow. Ho, ho. Ho, ho. Shut up, Al. He said it can't snow in Nebraska in May. Hey, hey. Well, it can snow heavy all the way through mid-May in northern Colorado. Steamboat Springs could be picking up 4 feet of snow over a multi-day event. Heavy snow continues through the Cascades, through the northern Sierras, just through May 9th. So that is going to be some much needed moisture. And take a look at the snow in the west, which is going to be open all the way through summer for skiing. And that's not a bummer. Now, a magnitude 3.6 earthquake strikes just 1 mile from Mount Vernon in Washington. Holy macaroni. According to the USGS, the earthquake shook around 4:15 a.m. Sunday at a depth of 13 kilometers. Some people report feeling it and say it lasted for a few seconds. And I'm sure if they watch the channel, well, they shark their pants just a little bit. There's the earthquake showing up right there in light blue. Who knew? Well, you did now, because I made it look that way just by clicking on it. No other quakes of note, normal activity worldwide now, except for the Pacific Northwest. Now, we started reporting on the uptick at St. Helens, and the uptick continues to get uptickier. Take a look at this grouping of quakes in the last 2 days. That's as many quakes as the last 2 weeks. So we're keeping a close eye on Mount St. Helens as the uptick continues at Rainier as well as St. Helens. Renewed activity. And like we said, we predicted the entire Cascades to light up all at once. And it looks like it's the early stages of lighting it up. Here we can see in orange 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quakes in the last 48 hours. These are small quakes, probably mostly less than 2 magnitude, yes. But nonetheless, all right beneath the crater of Mount St. Helens. So we're keeping a close eye on that for you. Worldwide volcano news update. Sebaru, Ibu, Baratura, Batutara. That's a new one on the list. And Sangay, Ambrin, Nevados de Ruiz, Sabancaya, Swanosima. Now, Batutura began erupting about a week ago, still just puffing to 4,000 feet. Nothing significant. Nevados de Ruiz to 21,000. Semaru, 14,000 feet. Ibu, increased puffs and passes to around 6,000 feet there. 20,000 feet at Sangay. Ambrin has been reduced. The alert level back to 1. That's great news. Now, taking a look at Iceland, the activity at Iceland is still pretty much getting jiggy. Pretty good activity over the last 3 days here, quieting down over the last 24 hours. Hours of quieting powers. But that doesn't mean that these pulses aren't going to continue, because they have been for months. And we're going to keep a close eye on it for you as we move over to discover solar wind and telemetry. Waiting for the coronal hole stream to couple with us. Doesn't seem to have happened yet. We're going to be looking for shifts in the BZ or the phi angle, none of which has occurred. And that brings us to all quiet is on the geomagnetic front, KP2. Who knew? Well, you did now, as the GOES magnetometer barely shows any perturbation as it shifts. Red is going down and blue is going up as normal. So we should see some perturbations if the coronal hole stream is going to push us into geomagnetic storm. Now, strange Mars rocks type points to extremely violent volcanic eruptions. And this is ignimbrite. It's a geologist's dream, wet dream. Meet ignimbrite, a volcanic rock found here on Earth and potentially now on Mars. An unusual rock type spotted by 2 Mars rovers may indicate that the Martian landscape was shaped by extremely violent volcanic eruptions. Well, we knew that, but apparently the mainstream is just getting up to speed. The Nils Fossage region of Mars, which includes the Jezero crater that NASA's Perseverance rover is currently exploring, is filled with bedrock laden with volcanic mineral olivine. Now, olivine is the most prevalent mineral on Earth. It's just very deep. It's in the mantle and deeper, and very infrequently on the surface. And apparently they found olivine on Mars. The same olivine-rich bedrock was also found at the Gusev crater, where NASA's Spirit rover roamed until its demise in 2010. But the connection between the regions wasn't made until now by a team led by planetary geologist Steve Ruff of Arizona State University. Now, the researchers examined data from multiple Mars rovers to confirm the geologic similarities which indicate, wait for it, that these local rocks may have been formed by similar processes. Then the scientists compared the Spirit's images of the Gusev crater with images of Earth rocks, and guess what? They look remarkably like ignimbrite. The rocks formed in extremely violent volcanic eruptions of huge scales. That's boom. But not the final boom. In fact, we have some kind of blocking happening here. Now, meteors from Comet Halley are about to bombard the Earth. And in the infamous words of BP Earthwatch, the debris field will arrive shortly. Since the year's Lyrids were affected by moonlight, this shower, the Etta Aquariids, should provide an amazing show. From the equator northward, they usually produce medium rates of meteoroids, 10 to 30 per hour. Activity is good for a few nights before and after the peak, which is predicted for Friday morning, May 6th at 1 a.m. And the best way to look at the Etta Aquariids is to go out at night after midnight and look south. And you want to be looking at the, do we have this up? No. Ocean. All right, let's pull this up for you. Yeah, we're trying to do it. We're trying to get it up there. We're trying to get all this up there just for you. Who knew? All right, so here's the Etta Aquariid meteor shower. If you're looking east, right at sunset, it's going to be coming out of the radiant here just south of the water jug of Aquarius. Now, this is a horrible graphic, but this one is much better. And if you actually go out at midnight in the dark and you look east, southeast, and or southeast, closer to south, you're going to see Jupiter over to the right, Saturn potentially to the left of Jupiter, Mars in that alignment. There's the line. And Aquarius is just to the left of Mars. So when you see the red planet, look up a little and left, and that's the radiant. And you should see the Etta Aquariids shooting out of this place as they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, the debris field in this zone. So get out and look up on the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, even the 6th. And I guarantee if you're in a dark place like here, you'll see dozens, if not hundreds, of bolides. That's boom. Not really. Vegetable gardening for beginners is a boom. Everyone should know how to grow food. When I was a child, almost 30-40% of the people in my community grew food. By the time I was an adult, no one was growing food. And this is by design, by the powers that be, to get more control of you. And also that they're depleting the nutrition in the food that you buy in the supermarket. If you grow your own food, the nutrition in one single tomato is equivalent to 100 store-bought tomatoes. Did you just hear that? I didn't make that up. If you use biodynamic soil like we do here, a single piece of fruit is equivalent to 100 pieces of fruit from the supermarket. Absolutely disgusting, the world we live in. Well, if you need a respite from the disgusting world that is happening and well, basically the extraction of money from the entire population, the recession that's ongoing and coming, and you have just one more hurrah, you can join us in just 13 days in the desert in the middle of nowhere in Ruidoso, New Mexico for Squatterman 2022, the Plasma Petroglyph Tour. The only tour of its kind ever, with private petroglyph tours followed by a conference on Sunday, followed by a VIP dinner with all the people you know, followed by a total lunar eclipse. Holy macaroni, what a weekend. Hope to see you there, and that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance in a dystopian world where I can't breathe. Well, because it's always windy in the end of April here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people. Be safe. We love you.